we'll start with another modifier lesson. This will be the array modifier. So right now we know how to duplicate, multiply your stuff by simply object duplicate or Shift D, right? So if I do Shift D and I move my mouse, I have free movement where that thing will be. If I want to cancel the movement, I right click and then I can proceed with using my move tool. Or let's say I Shift deduplicate this, I can just press X on the keyboard and it assumes I want to move along the X-axis, it goes along the X, right? So stringing your keyboard shortcut is quite effective, okay? You can combo string them like GX or even be specific, GX50, they'll jump 50 units, okay? So let's say, let's do a practical example again. White picket fence, right? It's the American dream fence of the neighborhood. Don't you wish all your neighbors have white picket fence and daisies, right? And wisteria planted everywhere, right? So that's that's one of this one. So I'm going to make this your classic white picket fence with a what? Pointy top, right? So I'm going to do Control R. Select those 2 points, G and Z. All right, so let's say we're pretty happy with this, all right? Let's also paint it. Make sure it's painted white, all right? And there it is. Okay, we're over here. And let's make it a little rough. All right, okay. Let's add another light to our scene. Duplicate that. Okay, just so that we see it. So typically here, if it's in the front or the back, right, I'm going to do Shift D, X. Select them again, Shift D, X. Shift D, X. It can be done, it's just a little bit more monotonous, right? But the beauty of this one is I can, especially let's say you hired someone, it's their summer job, they really hate their job, so your fence is going to go like this. And it adds realism to it though, all right? So when we do animation and we create those fences, we never make them too perfect because it gives it that character, isn't it? It doesn't look like it's, manufactured, right? So I'm going to click undo here till we're down to D1. We're going to go to the modifier array, right? There we go. The array modifier gives you a count, and it's factoring an offset of a movement of 1 unit. So if I move this unit, there it is, you see it? Along the X. Let's say we don't want the X, I put 0. Let's say, I don't know, you want to go deep, right? I don't know, let's say you're crazy, you want to make your fence like that, but anyway. And then we increase the count. All right, makes your life a little bit easier and faster with how you do it, because an array, it creates an array of copies, okay? And you can combine this, you can do Z also. Let's say, I don't know, you just hate your neighbor and you want to mess with them. They ask you to pay for the fence, but you wanted like David Copperfield type. All right, there it is. Okay, so, or we can normalize this one, of course. You can do the traditional. There it is. You can animate this, by the way. You can animate your fence increase in size. Part of 3D and its application that's used in television are those HGTV channel. Have you seen those? Where they do before and after. So, or before. So they visualize, they do a lot of 3D renderings of what changes they're going to do to the house. And our rendering capability now, it's so ridiculously photorealistic. Sometimes you get tricked. You think it's the done part, or they do so good. I don't know if they doctor it, okay? I don't know if they do trickery where the 3D model almost look like the finished product. So I don't know if the construction people are awesome. They actually copied it exactly as is, or the 3D artist modified because it's all edited, right? It's not shot in sequence. All right, they modify the rendering to look like the finished product, and either way, you're like, man, these guys are so good. It's like 1-to-1. It's movie magic, folks. All right, so that's an array right there, and there's other things you can do with it. You can definitely do a constant offset, okay, where you can tell it to move in distance that is equal in increment. You can also do rotational one depending on where your pivot point is, so on and so forth. Okay, so at this point you can do some really crazy stuff here. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right, all depends on what you want to do with your graphics. All right, so you can, I see a lot of motion graphic artists, they just do stuff like this as a background animation that's rotating, you know? I mean, that's how they do those ESPN and those, it's just simple objects that they're putting array and then they're animating them passing, and then they would render one, and then they go to After Effects, they put all those renders together and they give them depth. It's just something that goes in the back because it's a lot faster to do here in After Effects. Okay, then they would render it out and bring them in. Okay, so it's just motion graphics. Expect a lot of that job during election. All the major channels will be paying top dollar for all those animators with election 2020. CNN would be littered all over with those. All the channels will be. You know, they will have their motion graphics, and guess what? 100% of them are going to be in 3D. They're never 2D. They're always 3D. Okay. All right. So that's the array modifier.